partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 354. I've got a couple pretty cool guys here with me down from Blanchard Equipment. We've got Clay Hall. He is the corporate sales manager, and I've got Jonathan Gay. He is the used equipment manager down there. So, guys, how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Doing pretty well, Casey. How about yourself?
Good. So Clay's been on here a couple times before, so he's used to the abuse, so he knows what he's got himself into. Jonathan, it's your first time on here, so I apologize in advance. So we'll keep this as calm as possible. Right on, man. All right, guys. So this is our boots on the ground segment here. So we're just kind of getting a feel for what's going on in your neck of the woods. So first off, geographically talk about where Blanchard Equipment's located at and what your primary focus is.
Okay. Yep. So we have 16 locations, Casey. We are equally divided. 8 of those are in Georgia, 8 in South Carolina. From a row crop perspective, we're heavy into cotton and peanuts. Those are the two crops that, from an acreage perspective, weigh in the most. Then we go to corn and soybeans. Then we've got a good many specialty crops too, whether that's vegetables, fruit, and some other things as well.
Okay. Right on. So, Clay, let's work with kind of talk about what you're talking about seeing there. So from a new side, I mean, obviously it's been gangbusters here for the last 24 to 18 months. I mean, things just been going well. I guess as we're headed into this spring planting season, as you're talking to your customers, are you hearing anything, feeling anything different than what you've seen over the past, couple planting seasons here?
Not so far, Casey.
Yeah.
Just getting ready here to have some conversations with them about our sprayer EOP, and then of course right after that planter EOP as well.
Yeah.
So really thinking that'll give us a good pulse as to what they're thinking as we move over to the next 6 months to 9 months for delivery of those. But from a new large ag perspective, the demand seems to be about as much today as it was 6 months ago, 12 months ago, so on.
And I totally agree with what you're saying. I really thought I would see some slowing of buying habits and structures and those kind of things with interest rates, jumping up there into that 7 to 7.5% range. But I can't tell you that I've noticed really anything that's really slowed things down. And it feels like there's as much stuff. It still feels like when something comes in, one piece immediately goes back out. So it's like a 1-to-1 ratio almost of what we're seeing happen back and forth on that. Clay, let's talk about cotton here a little bit. Cotton is, I'm glad you have cotton pickers and I don't, because you understand them and I don't. So that makes a big difference. But I guess as you're looking at the overall cotton market right now, and I mean, what's the demand for pickers and what's that look like on the new and used side?
Yeah. So Casey, we've been able to meet most of our customer demand, the last couple of years under allocation. So that really seems to be helping us on a new perspective too, making sure that we've got the pipeline full. And then from Jonathan's side of the equation too, with the used, as long as we're under allocation and demand's reasonably high, that's keeping the used side of the business very well too.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, let's talk about that used side for a minute. Are you still seeing strong demand on used stuff? And I mean, I know there's a lot of international business that goes around that cotton picker side as far as the export goes. So, are you still seeing a lot of that take place right now?
There's some of it. I mean, we've started to kind of see that slow up some. I know I looked at some exports on some basket pickers last week and kind of had a little bit of a tough time with that just to get a reasonable price. Those guys are backing up some. We're kind of in a place that's used with me and Blanchard. Basket pickers are really a tough subject to talk about. Some of those roll pickers are getting older, getting some hours, and getting cheaper. And we've seen, again, like Clay said, with allocation, it helps us manage extremely good. But that still, I mean, it changes your numbers a lot when you bring in a used cotton picker that's 900,000. I mean, it moves the needle real fast.
Yeah.
Up and down. And so, really got to keep our finger on that. But I mean, it's strong. We've last year, I think we had like one carryover picker, that was good. We needed it just for a backup. And this year, we jumped just off the gun quick and sold a lot of our 1-year-old machines. And so we're good. There is a little bit of uncertainty there, but I mean, with us, that market's always going to be there, and it might back up a little bit, but it stays fairly steady most of the time.
Yeah. And I know the price of cotton's come down quite a bit from the high at 150. You're down to whatever in the 80s somewhere now, but it's still a good price. You're still seeing some good prices out there that kind of keep things moving. So when you're looking at your international stuff, and you brought up a good point that I was going to talk about. You start looking at the technology changes and when you look from the bell pickers, I guess, and moving over to these more basket pickers and stuff like that. That transition between the basket bag over to the like the CP 790s and 690s and those kind of things. When you're looking at those, how much has that changed what you guys do from the amount of equipment that you need now to harvest cotton when you're looking at the number of tractors you need and those kind of things? Have you seen, has it changed the portfolio of your customers and what they're doing on the farm?
Yeah, so I think if you look back, and it's really kind of staggering when you look back and think about what it took with a basket picker, a bowl buggy, a module builder, a couple of people to go along with that, and tractors to match up to each one of those machines, and then of course some other picker as well. And now today, how that's just not necessary anymore, and that's pretty amazing that we're able to sell a product to a customer like that brings that much more efficiency to the farming operation. So no doubt it makes a difference on the support equipment that they need.
Yeah. So when you're looking at that now, how's that changed? I mean, because I remember when I first started in this business, getting 235, 245, 270 horsepower, 290 horsepower tractors out of the South was a pretty common practice. And, they were good for coming back west here to get into feedlot operations, those kind of things, because they typically had, straight front ends and they were a little bit of a lower spec machine and those kind of things. And they were a great replacement for some of that stuff. As you're looking at your portfolio now, Clay, how's that changed how you do business? I mean, what are you doing different now than you were doing back then?
Well, I would say that we don't have the opportunity to move as many, because a lot of those customers on the support equipment, they were using, a tractor that had a little more age to it and certainly more hours on it.
Sure.
So maybe that's an opportunity there for us to sell some aged higher hour tractors in the past where we don't have the outlet for that locally as much anymore because the demand's just not there because the support equipment's not there.
Yeah. And then, Jonathan, you're looking on the used side of the stuff. Where do you find that row crop tractor now falling into your used portfolio?
Yeah, so you're talking about like what you were talking about, taking out west, like a straight axle older tractor.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I look at them a couple of different ways. We still have a lot of guys that, some smaller guys that are running that stuff that we can bring in. I really kind of look at those hard on a recon perspective, where we're going to put it in. And again, it's a gamble when you're taking some of those higher hour tractors in at this point. So we do retail some of that stuff. Some of it I move it out, through an auction company, kind of put it out there and get some offers on it. But at that point, I mean, if it's, 5,000-6,000 hours, we're a lot of times trying to move that on down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that where you kind of feel like your life cycle for tractors are at? 'Cause I think it's starting to vary widely, where you start seeing where, it used to be 7,000, 8,000 hour tractor was a pretty commonplace machine across the entire United States. And now you're starting to see pockets where 5,000 hours is too many hours. And in some pockets, 5,000 hours is just getting warmed up. So, I mean, I guess in your area, where do you find that sweet spot for tractors right now?
Yes, I mean, really, that 5,000 to 6,000 hours is where I start, I guess, shopping it to see what's out there. And I'm certainly not gonna, cut ties and run and give the customer a low price. I mean, if something makes sense, we'll do it. And we have taken those. I mean, we've sold a couple tractors this year that's been 7,000 to 8,000 hours, just good machines, well taken care of. And we'll trade for those and retail them, but it's just kind of on a case by case basis. If somebody sends me one of those with an evaluation, I'm more than likely getting a few opinions on it to see if they can get remotely close. I'll let it ride.
Yep. And then on the cotton side, when you're looking at those, like where, again, I don't know a whole lot about what's a lot of hours on a cotton picker or not. I mean, I know enough about the market to be dangerous and probably lose a bunch of money if I ever got one that came my way. But if you're looking at those things, is there a sweet spot there where you find, hey, you know what, this hour range for us is really exciting to the export market, or this hour range right here is a sweet spot for that second or third? I mean, where how do you find that sweet spot on the cotton picker side of it?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, it's kind of been those later model machines, of course, I would think similar to like combines, they're kind of fairly hot, they'll go, but it's really been pretty diverse with what you could export. And then too, like I said, with a lot of those basket pickers kind of phasing out, some of these roller pickers hire our older machines that you would consider maybe something that would go. A lot of our smaller farmers are picking those up.
Yeah.
So we've been able to really stay. I mean, I don't think that I have sent a cotton picker of any sort away for having too many hours or shopped it out. It's really not a good piece to shop out. It's hard to transport. It's hard to ship very far. I mean, it's kind of a little tough, and we might be a little more conservative on our pricing, but we've been able to kind of find a home for most anything. Again, it's just got to be priced right.
Sure. So Clay, let's jump over here, going in right to the heart of plant season here, and you're looking at various planters that are out there. How have upgrade kits and those kind of things, how's that made its way into your market, and are you seeing more people looking at those facets of technology now?
Yeah, Casey. So we sold our first pucks last year under the EOP, and those came in and got those set up and delivered here just a few weeks ago. So really looking forward to seeing what kind of output we can get from those and see what kind of value that adds to the customer in the planting season for this year. But really, just thinking through again, allocation and availability of what we think we probably will be able to receive under the 2024 allocation. We think that the puck kits could easily be, a really good option for customers who want to do some upgrades to their current farming operation, but either number one, don't want to spend the money for a brand new machine, or number two, that there's just simply not available machines for them to have brand new. So we really feel like with this EOP that's about to come up, it's probably going to be good traction on the pucks.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what happens this year with those, because every year it's kind of got a little more traction than the previous year, and this is the first time, whether any manufacturer, wherever you're at, but you don't have to be the you don't have to trade in your machine now to get the latest and greatest stuff when it comes to planters. You can add what you need to it to get there. So I'm pretty excited to see what that looks like and how that plays out this year. Sprayer side of the business, I'm watching that pretty close too, just because it's just that time of the year and looking what's out there. I don't think there's like 1,800 planters or something like that, or planter sprayers listed out there on the marketplace right now, and that shows there's a huge void in the amount of used sprayers that are out there. Jonathan, as you're looking at your your used sprayer inventory. What's that look like, and what's the feel? Clay, you can jump in here too. What's the feel your customer base and sales guys out there when you start talking about new sprayers?
So with us on sprayers, we have pretty good inventory. But with saying that, a lot of our customers run 4023s, the smaller frame sprayer, which is pretty much the Southeast. So when I say we have, good sprayer inventory, we have a lot of those. And we still don't really, we have a couple 408s in stock, but that's about the biggest sprayer. We'll have a couple of bigger ones running, but really what's out there on the market, I looked maybe today or yesterday, and there was a good many like 4038s and some of your bigger frame sprayers. And we're really, we're pretty good as far as inventory goes used of being able to kind of fulfill what we've got with our guys around here. We've been able to actually transfer a couple of ours to some other dealers here lately.
Clay, what's your appetite right now on the new side? You got a lot of folks out there kicking tires and thinking about getting some new sprayers?
We do. So we've been fortunate for this last couple of years to be able to cover most all of our customers on the retail side with that. So and kind of circling back to the upgrade kit conversation, I can see where that may likely be the same scenario with sprayers this coming year as well. That we may not be able to cover everything that we have need for retail-wise, and that may have some customers whose first choice might be to buy a brand new sprayer, but not quite enough availability to do that. And I can see them looking in the direction of upgrade kits. And I know you and I a few weeks ago were having just a quick conversation, and upgrade kits came up, and I think we both agreed that no matter what we think the upgrade kit impact is going to be today, if we 5 years from now, we'll look back and it's exponentially more than that, whatever we may think it is today.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm anxiously waiting to see what happens, because especially when you start looking at autonomous tractors and autonomous combines and cotton pickers and sprayers and everything else that are coming down the line. I think when you take away the need for the massaging seat and the heated floor mats and all those kind of things, and you're just back to the basics of just four wheels and an engine and transmission type of thing, that I see it looking at my crystal ball is telling me that the power unit is going to have a lot more lifespan than the technology that it's either integrated with or pulling or whatever it's doing. I think that's going to be a big deal, and I think upgrade kits play a big part of that, because I think all the manufacturers are looking around and saying, how many $900,000 somethings can we sell? And it's a pretty short list, so, and it's going to continue to get shorter as the number of farmers retire and those kind of things in there, which I guess that brings up another point I was going to talk about anyway. From your perspective, as you guys look around, what's your market look like as far as retirement sales and those kind of things? Are you seeing a lot of consolidation in your area? Also, are you seeing a lot of retirements, those kind of things? I guess what's that look like in your area?
Yeah, so I'll speak to it just, I guess, on the retirement side, and then Jonathan can go at it from the any kind of sales or auctions that he's aware of. But we definitely have an aging farmer population in our area. There's no doubt about that, and we've still got a decent amount of people who are in the 1,000 to 2,000 acre range that, as they continue to age and get ready to retire, they're selling that, that equipment to their neighbor, or they're, leasing that property to their neighbor and going at it from that approach. So we see that continually year after year, and seeing the folks that are of scale already continue to add some additional acreage and grow their operation for sure.
Yeah. Johnson, you seeing anything on your end where you're seeing a big spike in retirement sales or anything like that?
Yeah, I think so. The past 24 months, it seems every weekend there's a big one, and and all of our customers are going. And luckily, the market it's really not affected. If anything, has driven the market up some. Yeah. Most of those auctions, I watch them a pretty good bit, and they're strong. Everything's bringing good money, which is good, but that is another source that we're kind of battling with. But there's some guys that's got some good equipment that I mean, they kind of see the writing on the wall, and they're jumping right now while the market's as good as it is. They decide it's time, to go, and they've profited off of it for sure. But it's definitely something to kind of battle with.
Yeah. I've been watching that too, and for the longest time when inventory was short, you watch some of these retirement sales and estate sales and those kind of things go, and you watch tractors sell for $10,000 or $15,000 more than you have them listed for on your lot, not the actual sales number as your history goes. So you're watching some of the stuff go, and you're kind of sitting back wondering, like, how long is this going to last? And I think we're kind of there. I mean, I think as I look out, I guess this is another point I'll talk to you guys about, is I'm looking out the end of 23 going into 24. It's starting to feel like some of that, the supply is starting to kind of come back a little bit more than what we've seen in the past. It's easily starting to kind of ease into it, where you're starting to see a few more things pop up here and there, and there's not 14 people waiting to buy it. There's just kind of slowly kind of building that back up. As I look into 24, I kind of see a market correction is not the right word, but it's just the craziness of pricing is just going to calm down, and we're going to start seeing some things move forward. What are your guys' thoughts there? I guess Jonathan, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on kind of what you're seeing with pricing, and how you seeing the market react to things in your area?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much like you said, I mean, we've kind of been ready for it to start kind of showing that it was going to come down, and I think we're there. I mean, our 8R tractors are still, I mean, just as strong as they've ever been. But it is starting to slow up. We track a lot of times on looking, the stuff I've traded in the past year, how quick we're selling that. And that gap's getting a little bit farther. There for a little while, we were 30 days and we were getting stuff in and turning it right back out just as quick. And it is slowly just getting a little bit farther and farther. In which I still think it'd be fairly good, but it's time to kind of put your heels down and get ready, because it could get pretty tough here shortly.
Yeah, I had a conversation with the guy the other day, and he was like, "Man, these tractors are starting to kind of pile up a little bit." I was like, "Really? You get tractors?" He's like, "Yeah, I've had about 4 tractors for about 3 weeks now." And I know what like, come on, man, it's only been 3 weeks. Give us some time. He's like, "Well, I mean, usually just flying off the shelf here, but so yeah, it's funny how that's reacting." Clay, you seen something similar in your area? You seen similar reactions to that?
Yeah, Casey, I would agree to that too, and especially as we look out, 6, 9, 12 months. I think there's certainly a good chance that the scarcity premium on the new, and then sliding over to the used as well, is probably going to back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
And have a little bit of normalization in the pricing piece of it too, whether that's, price increases coming back to something that's fairly reasonable year over year. And when we see that on the new, of course, we begin to see that on the used as well.
Yep, absolutely. All right, last thing here, fellas, and I'll let you guys get back to it. When you're looking at the I guess when you're looking at all your used equipment portfolio, Jonathan, as you're looking at everything's there, what are you paying closest attention to, and what do you have the most optimism about?
So for us right now, it's peanut equipment, and mainly that dollar figure isn't much. It's just that time of the year. We've really got to stay on top of that. And sprayers, like you had talked about earlier, with some of these EOPs coming, we're making orders on new, and those used are going to be coming down the road. So definitely keeping between sprayers, planters, and really that peanut equipment, making sure we can get that moved on. And I guess probably what I'm most optimistic about is just a good continued row crop market. I hope that stays strong for us, and it has been. I think a lot of optimism is I think we're in a really good spot to, if we need to sit and hold, we can.
Yeah.
We've got good inventory, and if there's some cases to where we can buy, I think we're ready to buy too. So I mean, I'm pretty optimistic about that. That we're sitting in a good spot inventory wise. That if it does get kind of hairy the next few months, that we can kind of sit and hold a little bit.
Absolutely. Clay, what are you saying, man?
So just on the optimistic side is the technology piece of it. I mean, when I think about the technology now that's available on planters and sprayers, and and then autonomy right around the corner, it's just I think the sky's the limit on what dealers are going to be able to offer to their customers, and increase the value of the equipment, not only from a dollar perspective, but just the overall return on their investment on their farm. I think that's going to be huge, and I really think that we're just scratching the surface as to where that's going to go in the future. And then back to Jonathan's point, if anything that we're just watching, maybe have some slight concerns over is just the overall market, demand of the market. But again, if the new side of the business remains strong, then there's no doubt that we'll continue to see a good steady pace on the new side of the business too. So I don't think there's anything to sound the alarm over, but definitely just want to make sure we keep our finger on the pulse of that as well.
Right on. Okay. Well, guys, I appreciate you being on the podcast. Jonathan, folks want to give you a call and reach out to you and see what you have going on. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes. So you can call my direct phone number, and do you have that, or you want me to give that to you?
Just go ahead and give it out, man. So
it's 706-833-5466. And anytime you can call me, it stays on. If you call me, don't leave me a message. I'm probably on the phone with somebody. So that's the best way to get to me.
Right on, man. Clay, what's the best way to get a hold of you, man?
Yeah, same way, Casey. Just reach out to me on my cell. Call or text. It's 478-494-5743.
Right on. Is it BlanchardEquipment.com? Is that your guys' website?
That is correct.
I don't know. All right, so check that out, guys. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast. I hope to see you guys this fall. I know you guys are going to be down in Nashville, so looking forward to see you guys again, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys down there, and hopefully it'll be nice weather and not too terrible bad and hot and everything else. So we'll see you guys down there.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Casey.
I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC, LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast, and go over to the YouTube channel to see the video version of this at the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. Go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related. You get all the information for the Moving Iron Summit coming up here in Nashville, Tennessee, September 11th through the 13th. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Clay Hall and Jonathan Gay. Smooth Smart, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.